The 1968 election enters its final stretch in chaos. Riots are a frequent occurrence as the Vietnam War divides the nation, and Johnson's Great Society is under full attack. Nixon attempts to present himself as a law and order candidate who will bear the standard of republicanism. Humphrey tries to hold the line for liberalism in an era of social chaos and racial agitation. Wallace hopes to bring an end to civil rights and desegregation. Hello everybody, welcome back to the video, and we're playing the 1968 New Campaign Trail once again. I have already made a video playing through this as Richard Nixon, but today we're going to be playing through as Hubert Humphrey. So, Hubert Humphrey, a Democrat from Minnesota. For years, Humphrey has been seen as Johnson's natural successor. This has both helped and hurt him in the bitter nomination struggle. Humphrey is fighting a war on many fronts. He must present a clear case for liberal ideals, bring back the activist wing of the party, head off Wallace's efforts, and still succeed in his primary task of defeating Nixon. Okay, so obviously, playing through as the Democrat VP in 1968. Let's see how this goes. So in real life, he went with Edmund Muskie, a senator from Maine, a low national profile. Okay. So moderate voters is probably something we should keep an eye out for. So I think that Muskie should be something that we could skip. You can go to Kennedy. Ted Kennedy, state Massachusetts, young brother to John and Robert Kennedy, and a staunch liberal. Ted Kennedy would be a choice if Humphrey wished to reconcile with the liberal and anti-war wing of the party. Kennedy will not accept the nomination, however, unless Humphrey repudiates the hawkish policies of President Johnson. This could cause problems with moderates and, more importantly, with the Democratic establishment. John Connally was and is the governor of Texas, who was infamously wounded in the Kennedy assassination. He would reinforce a moderate image, help deliver Texas to the ticket, and dampen the appeal of Wallace elsewhere to all but the most hardline segregationists. However, the anti-war liberal wing of the party will surely recoil at this selection. Fred Harris, a Democrat from Oklahoma. Harris could help his party make a play for some of the southern states without alienating its liberal wing. He would add very little to the campaign if he fails to deliver some states in the South. At his young age, could be alarming to some voters. Let's go with Connally, and if this fails, we'll go with Ted Kennedy. Because Connally can help deliver the South and can help bring moderates on board. Well, you say in your... let's try out the electoral... Oh, we're not doing good electorally. We got 75. Well, you say in your acceptance speech at the Democratic Convention in Chicago, will you address the rioting outside and the legacy of Robert Kennedy? So a couple things to note here. So when in 1968, yes, the convention was at Chicago, just like 2024's, but also RFK Sr. was believed to be the Democrat frontrunner until his unfortunate assassination. Okay, so what are our options? I'll tactfully criticize the police overreaction. It's not worth addressing the violence outside. Make a general pledge for law and order. A strong defense of liberalism in the economy. Truce in Vietnam and truce for racial issues. Remind the American people that we stand at a critical juncture in the civil rights movement. Pledge full support and pledge to end the violence. Let's go with calling a truce for Vietnam, because that's a big thing and that's part of the riots. So, cheers and jeers mix in the convention hall, but elsewhere your speech is well received. Okay. Did that help us out any? It got us a little bit of extra votes. What's the overall theme of your campaign? Remembering that the Democratic Party is underfunded and severely divided. First and foremost, I will end the war in Vietnam by any means necessary. Beyond that, I will support the AFL-CIO, reform support for civil rights, Uh, Biography, Johnson. Let's focus on the biography. I think that's the best advice. This isn't bad, but it completely ignores the issue of Vietnam and does nothing to rebuke the notion that you will continue Johnson's policies there. So, if that comes up, which it probably will, because I think that was probably the biggest issue of 1968. Let's go with going with something different than Johnson. So yeah, that lost us a little bit. We could maybe flip New York. Speaking of Vietnam, what was your overall position? We should stop bombing North Vietnam and attempt to negotiate a peace settlement. We need to pull our forces out. I'm in no position to comment. We keep emboldening the enemy with half measures. Let's stop bombing. This looks to be a real turning point in your campaign. Your call for a bombing halt undercuts the argument that you are a stooge for LBJ, and it's definitely helping you bring the anti-war vote back. Yes, there we go. That should help us out. Oh, look at that. Suddenly, we are in 194. Still got a lot of ground to cover, but as it stands, taking away 29 votes, it's a little bit harder for Nixon. What's more important for your campaign, competing with Nixon in the swing states or winning over Wallace voters in the South and some northern cities? Wallace is getting 45, which that could be a good help for us. But at the same time, typically it's not a good idea to address third-party candidates because it could just give them more of an edge. So let's go for the key states. It lost us a few electoral votes, but it didn't do anything significant. Are you satisfied with the progress of desegregation in this country since the Civil Rights Act passed? Let's see, we need to be very aggressive. We have achieved great strides. I strongly support what we've done. Let's go with achieve great strides and emphasize our record. Great answer. This appeals to your base, which will lead to an increased liberal and black turnout. However, you've alarmed and lost moderates with your statements. Okay. We got about an even trade, so that seems decent. Are you satisfied with this nation's economic performance over the past 5 years? Okay, so our big thing is, since we're Johnson's VP, we kind of need to be interesting because we need to say good things that can help us get elected, but we also need to criticize the unpopular things. So, the economy, we could probably say some good stuff. Our current economic path is not sustainable. No. No. The unemployment rate right now is under 4%. Yep, we're going to go with that. There we go. Your embrace of the economy satisfies party bosses and brings the left back in line. At the same time, you lose support among independents as it ties yourself too close to the unpopular Johnson. Okay. Let's go to Wisconsin. If elected, what will you do to get the riots in this country under control? Let's see. Okay. So, from what I'm seeing, we can either go on this route, which is more spending on education, integration, and programs, or this might, I don't know. Let's go for this one. This one, I think, will be a more in-depth statement. Great answer. This addresses the concern of law and order moderates in the Democrat base. All right. Richard Nixon, perhaps remembering the debacle of 1960, has expressed little interest in a debate this election. Will you challenge him to one? So, obviously, we got to challenge Nixon to a debate. This is a real opening for us. I will challenge Nixon on this issue relentlessly. Nixon agreed to debate you, but unfortunately, he did not repeat his 1960 missteps. A conclusive outcome does little to change the overall picture of the campaign. Okay. What is your opinion of Lyndon Johnson's new Medicare program? Uh, we need to. I don't think we need to go so far to the left that we become just ridiculously out there, but we also do need to play to that base a little bit with this game. Medicare is only the beginning of national healthcare system. That might be a little too far. We need to be very cautious. That might not. That might be too close to the right. That this is not a good one. I commend this piece of legislation. Already we see many Americans receiving health care who would otherwise be stricken with serious and or fatal conditions. This is the best answer for the situation. It was a presumed answer, though, so it affects the polls minimally. Okay. Did the Supreme Court overstep its bounds in Loving v. Virginia? I fully support the Supreme Court. So I want to step in and protect good order. I'm not going to comment. I fully support the Supreme Court. Probably the best answer. The nation doesn't like interracial marriage, but doesn't want laws pertaining to its legality. Okay. And there we go. It is now a point to where we can flip this now. So, we can maybe get California, Alaska. Kentucky looks pretty close. Let's go to Illinois. That could be a good bump. Okay. Let's see. What can you say to the people of the South to dampen the appeal of George Wallace? I'm more worried about Nixon. Whilst trying to throw the election. Let's go with... You know what? Let's go with Wallace is trying to throw the election. How did that help us? Okay, that actually sunk us. Okay, do you think the Department of Housing and Urban Development, newly created by Lyndon Johnson, serves a useful purpose in American life? I will do my best to ensure this program is managed soundly and does not become some kind of welfare program. We need to do everything in our power to ensure that our poorest citizens have affordable housing. We gotta go with this one, I think. Poor citizens love it, but moderates and conservatives are less amused. Okay. We just need to swing 50. If we can swing California and one other state, I think we'll be good. What do you think of programs that require schools to use busing? Busing is not a popular policy. So I stand opposed to legal segregation. Okay, that's not going to be what we need. What good is a court decision banning segregation if we don't actually do something to integrate our schools? I do agree with the idea that education is a local matter. This is tough because you see, on one hand, this answer might be too liberal. This answer might not be liberal enough. Let's go with this one. Busing is unpopular, but you've pleased dedicated activists and grassroots supporters who dedicate themselves into organizing and campaigning. Largely, your support has not changed. Okay, that helped us out. What is your opinion on the legality of abortion? What would you attempt to legalize or prohibit this practice at the federal level? I support the right of way. Okay, this one might be. I think this one, I think this one's gonna be a little iffy. So I don't think so. Murderous practice. That's gonna lose us support. We all have our own opinions. I'm opposed to the practice personally, but let's go for this one. I'm opposed to the practice of abortion personally, but I would support a federal law protecting access in the most dire cases for the woman, such as when her life or health are in danger. It's a liberal answer that still engages moderates. The negative conservative Democrats are upset by the answer. Okay, Nixon is still in the lead, but that did help us out a little bit. Let's go to Illinois. Can you comment on the newly created Head Start program? Programs like Head Start are the only way that we will end poverty in our cities and rural districts. I fought for this program from the beginning, and I will support it as president. Well, I mean, if we got that, then I mean, we obviously have to stick with it. Still close. Okay. Has the current Supreme Court contributed to our disorder with decisions such as Gideon v. Wainwright and Miranda v. Arizona? Due process for defendants is a constitutional right. Over the past years, we've sent a message. We don't want to go too much on law and order because that's Nixon's campaign. So let's go with constitutional right. Probably the correct answer for this minefield. You have to stick up for liberalism nationally, which sunk us significantly. Okay. We can get Ohio, maybe. If elected as president, what would you do to lower the inflation rate in this country, which currently stands at over 4%? Our inflation being caused by all this great society nonsense. Nope. Right now we have the strongest economy. Republicans are grasping at straws. They know that Kennedy and Johnson have managed the economy far better than Eisenhower. Let's go with that one. This is true, and it binds herself to the strong economy and the slain president. Okay. Which did help us out a little bit. Okay. Would you consider a constitutional amendment to outlaw the birth control pill, given the Supreme Court's decision on that issue? We have bigger priorities to deal with. The pill is not the biggest issue this election. Okay. Let's see. Any states we can maybe flip? Nevada would be close. Should Lyndon Johnson have been able to prevent the Tet offensive? I'm worried for most of, or all of, 1968. Lyndon Johnson repeatedly assured us that the North Vietnamese were on their last legs. The Tet Offensive was an absolute disaster. Why should it have been prevented? We should have had greater security in those places where we were attacked. But let's not forget, however, that this attack greatly hurt the Viet Cong. Let's go with this one. This seems like a pretty moderate answer. Yeah. You've justified Johnson's handling of Vietnam and have his thanks, but it pushes away Dove's. Okay. Oh, we're leading right now. Okay. 3:30. Okay. Lyndon Johnson, in his crude way, swears that he will slit your throat if you oppose his policies on Vietnam while complaining. Will you risk his wrath and be your own man on the trail? Johnson is a deeply unpopular president. That's not an entirely relevant question because I agree with Johnson's stance. No, we don't want to click that one. I have no problems opposing the policies of Lyndon Johnson. We're going to go with this one. You've demonstrated that you are your own man and not just Johnson's goon. The campaign operatives report that the Texas Democratic Party is unusually hostile. And that sunk us significantly. We're still in the lead, but it looks like we might not get looks like it might not be an electoral college majority. What do you think of the late Dr. Martin Luther King? No, we don't want to click that one. Is an American hero. I'm proud of his efforts to desegregate the Southern schools and businesses. We need to continue to fight for the legacy of Dr. King, the continuing poverty. This bottom one, right? This might be seen as politicizing the issue. Let's not go for that. Let's go for this answer. This is a standard, safe response. Okay, we're in the lead now. 290. We just need to keep that up. Do you believe that President Johnson overstepped his bounds in negotiating the Kennedy round of trade agreements? Do you support the liberalization of international trade under the GATT? International trade will undermine the prosperity of the working man as quickly as it will undermine the sovereignty of the United States. I support these international trade negotiations, but we must be sure that we don't undermine the rights of our unions with one-sided agreements. Support the overall thrust of this policy. Foreign trade supports our Cold War allies, reduces the cost of goods in America, and it supports a broader economic prosperity. Let's go for this middle one. This is a good answer. You managed to mollify LBJ and also soothe unions who are anxious about the effects these agreements have. And we're down again. Okay. California. Do you believe that the black community in most cities overreacted to the assassination of Martin Luther King this past April? This was a very tough event for many of us to take, no matter what our backgrounds were. I believe that more precautions should have been taken to keep things from getting out of hand. Okay. Let's go for the top one. Blacks wish for comment. Anything about police brutality from you? For whites is a great answer, showing you aren't just all talk about law and order. Okay. Have you given any thoughts to programs that would set racial quotas for job hiring or college admissions in order to accelerate the process of integration? We promise an equal opportunity. I oppose discrimination in federal hiring. We need to ask ourselves if a quota system, what we have right now, is a good start. We have laws in the book. We absolutely need laws prohibiting discrimination, and we need to go that extra mile. Kennedy and Johnson's executive orders relating to federal hiring do just that. Okay, we're leading, but no clear majority. On the weekend before the election, Lyndon Johnson's peace negotiations have collapsed with the North Vietnamese. Even worse, there are rumors that a Nixon operative has sabotaged the negotiations. Nixon swears to you on his honor that he is innocent. Will you make this an issue over the last 2 days of the campaign? This is bordering on treason. The American people deserve to hear about this. The election closes in chaos. Peace talks collapse. You accuse Nixon. Nixon accuses the Democrats of bugging his plane, and the upshot is mass confusion and anger among the voters. Good luck tonight. Congratulations. You won the 1968 election. The happy warrior rises. Despite a climate of chaos and a split in the Democrat Party, you've beaten back the opposition and secured a third term for the Democrats. Johnson breathed a sigh of relief after this, and poor Nixon is once again a loser. He did quite well, however. So you best work hard, lest the midterms act mercilessly. Your first action, of course, is to fix what Johnson caused. Vietnam and the riots need to be dealt with. Johnson might not like how you deal with it, but this is your administration, and you'll deal with it the way you want to. Act quickly, or you might just become as unpopular as Johnson. And there is the map. Here are the results. So, I got 273 electoral votes with 32 million popular votes and an overall percentage of 44.7% of the popular vote. In real life, Humphrey got 191 electoral votes and 42.7% of the popular vote. So, that is it. That is it for this video. If you want to go check out my video on playing as Richard Nixon to see if I succeeded in that one, you can go check that one out right now. But that's it for this video. Like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.